Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Princesses and pop stars, rockers and royalty, ingenues and debutantes of all ages, and everyone else. Welcome to Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me I have my co-host. He's super talented and super grumpy, John.
Get out of my face.
For those of you just joining us, we are a podcast about Barbie movies. Each week we watch one of the straight-to-DVD animated Barbie movies and we rate its story, characters, animation, voice acting, and music to see how it stacks up. And this week we will be talking about the 30th animated Barbie movie, Barbie in Rock and Royals.
30! Yeah!
30 episodes, well, more than 30 episodes in, but 30 Barbie episodes.
We've watched 30 Barbie movies.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem right.
Is that more than there are Marvel or James Bond movies?
Marvel, we have the Disney Plus shows, so technically those are longer. But the DC animated movie universe, we've watched more Barbie movies than that.
Watch more Barbie movies than DC extended cinematic universe.
That was a long time ago, but yes, we did. No, I think Marvel's is like, what, 34 right now?
Something. Well, we'll have to double check later. But
when we're done, we'll definitely have surpassed them.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not in hours. Or if you include other stuff. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I've already mentioned this in episodes before, but on Letterboxd, if you're a patron, it'll tell you like who your most viewed actors are, and Kelly Sheridan has entered my most viewed actors and is climbing the list. I think Tabitha St. Germain is also on that list.
I mean, that's going to end at some point. Very soon, actually. But yeah, Rock and Royals. Yeah.
This was released on September 8th, 2015, so same year as Princess Power, though if you compare them side by side, they look entirely different.
Yeah, entirely, completely.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It feels like one project was a priority, and I think maybe the correct project was the priority.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's kind of like those days where you had one project that was not great, like Fairytopia. Then you had the other stuff, which was fun.
Yeah. Also, the Princess Charm School and the one right before that as well were.
Yeah.
We've kind of been going like off and on of like one movie we don't like that much, then another movie we like more, and
I wonder what's going to happen next week.
Yeah. hopefully. Well, next week we're
it's going to be our number one.
Yes.
Oh, no, I get that. Yeah, we're doing that, but still.
Yes,
next time.
Next week is a surprise, but the next Barbie movie we do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, this was directed by Karen J. Lloyd, who I don't know how much we talked about her last time she directed one of these, because I was sick on the Secret Door episode, so we were that was a shorter episode than usual. But she is the first woman to direct one of these Barbie movies.
Oh, I think we did mention that,
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's cool, because Barbie was becoming a director in way back in Fashion Fairy Tale, so finally getting some representation there. Yeah, it's
they
written
just
by
needed someone to do the job. So,
well, that's the case of all of these Barbie movies, I think.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's written by Marcia Griffin, who she wrote the last movie as well, if I'm not mistaken, Princess Power.
Did she?
Yes, she did write Princess Power.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Yeah, kind of a step up Though again, with Princess Power, we were wondering if maybe there was some last minute changes to that.
There probably was.
But yeah, here it's you really get a sense for her strength as a writer here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very much so. Even some subversion of expectations were I really liked.
Yeah. And we have music by Gabriel Mann and Rebecca Newell, who they've been around for a while with these movies, and there's also some original songs, which this is kind of a musical.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much music in the first half, but definitely in the second half. And yeah, the story follows, well, it's set on this magical island in a lake. And
Magical,
they're,
quote
yeah,
unquote.
well, they go through this sparkly barrier to get there.
Whatever the heck that thing is. It's I think it's just for show.
Yeah, I
Because
was.
the pop stars were really confused about magic when the princesses had them. It's like, what the heck is that?
It reminded me of um the Middle Earth, the Grey Havens, or where it's like, or no, whatever it's called, the Undying Lands, where you have to go through the Veil of Light before you
Oh,
reach that. So
yes.
since they were sailing, and then there's this sparkly barrier that they have to sail through. But no, I am not entirely sure what was going on there. And all of the trees are pink.
Well, I mean, pink trees are not real. They're called
Yeah,
dogwoods, if you wanted to know. Or in some countries, lapachos. But anyway, they go through this
yeah.
magical beam thing.
And on this island, it's like split in half, and one half is this camp for musicians, and the other half is this camp for royalty. And the two,
Typical.
yup,
Typical. Yeah.
the two headmasters are sort of these bitter rivals. Their relationship has some ups and downs throughout the course of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But we start with Princess Courtney, who she's headed to Camp Royalty for the summer, and
Mm-hmm.
the rock star Erica Juno, she's headed to Camp Pop.
But, there was an error in the systems which swapped their places, and so they end up going to the incorrect camps.
Yes, very uh School for Good and Evil.
Right.
And well, I guess in more ways than one, which we'll get into later, but
We'll get into that later.
they initially feel very out of place. Obviously, the Camp Pop is sort of like musical focused, and everyone's artistic and creative and a bit odd. And then over at Camp Royalty, everyone's very buttoned up and formal.
Mm-hmm. They like
But
acapella.
yeah, but they start to make friends with their own respective camps, and they sort of learn to appreciate the situation they're in and kind of are getting along. And then eventually they meet each other at the beach halfway between these two camps, and they are going to switch places to go to the camp that they were supposed to go to, but then they decide, actually no, we're having fun, let's just stay where we are.
Mm-hmm.
But while this is happening, Lady Anne, who's the headmistress of Camp Royalty, and Finn Oxford, he's the headmaster of Camp Pop, they are trying to take over the other person's camp to expand their camp and have the whole island to themselves.
Yes.
And it turns out that they are ex-lovers who are now bitter enemies.
Always fun.
Yup. And then one day, Lady Anne hears Erica singing and comes up with this plan. So she suggests that the two camps host a singing contest where the winner takes the entire island.
But unbeknownst to her, her assistant, Clive, bribes one of the judges to vote for Camp Royalty.
Yep, there's three judges. One is a pop star, one is royalty, and one is a ballerina.
Nope, that
And
nobody
so,
knows.
yeah. And so Clive bribes the ballerina to get to win that sort of swing vote.
Mm-hmm.
But Lady Anne, in the meantime, is trying to play this competition fairly, so she recruits Erica, the rock star, to sing a cappella with some of the Camp Royalty kids. And Erica is trying to plus the song, this a cappella song that they're singing. So she's improvising during the song, and that angers the de facto leader of the camp royalty kids, Princess Olivia. And Lady Anne has to eventually intervene and actually puts Erica in charge because she kind of correctly identifies that Erica is the stronger singer. And Erica uses that opportunity to kind of give herself the big spotlight in the song, but that obviously doesn't. It angers Princess Olivia, and the other camp royalty kids are also a little bit unhappy with how much Erica is featuring herself.
In an
Um,
acapella group, yeah.
yeah. But then in the meantime, Princess Courtney's friends at Camp Pop overhear her playing a song that she actually wrote herself, and they are impressed. And the song they're supposed to play for this big tournament isn't working out, so they're like, "Hey, Courtney, could we use one of your songs?" And she encounters some resistance, but that's sort of less than um the Finn Oxford, that's his name, right? He sort of sorts it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Erica, she's angry at all of the camp royalty kids, and she sneaks into the office to call her manager. But while she's there, Clive, Lady Anne's assistant, walks in and Erica overhears him talking about how the winner of the competition will take over the other camp. This is something that wasn't known to all of the students at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Erica and Princess Courtney, um, well, Erica sneaks over to the other camp and tells Princess Courtney what's going on, and neither of them want either camp to lose because they don't want either camp to go away. So they come up with this big plan.
Yeah, so during the night of the competitions, things are proceeding as normal. Though Camp Brody is performing with lower energy than expected. But halfway through their song, Camp Pop interrupts their own performance.
Yeah, and then Camp Royalty comes back and joins the performance, and they perform together.
Mm.
Which, of course, Lady Anne and Finn Oxford are kind of. Lady Anne is the one who's most disappointed. Who's like,
Yeah,
"What are
we'll
you
talk
doing?"
about that.
And
We'll
then
talk about that.
she gets in a fight with Finn Oxford, who are like, "What's going on? We can't have these two performing together." And Courtney uses her magic to open a trapdoor and traps them under the stage. And it initially seems like the judges are going to declare a tie, but Clive sort of comes up and whispers in the ballerina judge's ear that he bribed her, and so she votes for Camp Royalty, which makes them the winner. But before anything else can happen, Lady Anne and Finn Oxford have reconciled under the stage, and now they rise up from underneath and they reveal that they had a change of heart and decide to keep both camps open.
Mm-hmm.
And Clive freaks out and reveals that he bribed the judge, and he gets trapped beneath the stage. And then, yeah, it ends with Erica. She decides that she's tired of being a solo act and invites all of her new friends to join her next tour.
Yep, and then the film ends with a music video.
Yep.
Odd
And an
choice.
after credit scene. Did you catch that?
No, I did
No,
not.
it's dumb. It's Clive gets out of the from underneath the stage and then walks a little bit and then falls back down underneath.
That that's a perfect use for end credits. Yes, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what story rocks? This one.
Yeah. No, it does really rock. It's using a concept that I have not seen used very often. Specifically, the two people switch because of an error, not because they got on the wrong boat by accident.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I saw that and was like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Wow, this is really fun. And I like the difference between the two, and I
Yeah.
liked how they decided to stay with their group in the end. I was expecting things to change.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have these dual protagonists who they're going through arcs that kind of mirror each other,
Mm-hmm.
where they're growing at the same time, but the lessons they have to learn are the opposite lessons.
Yes.
Where Princess Courtney, she's very buttoned up, very formal, but she's kind of like suffering in that she has this internal life that she's having trouble expressing. So being at Camp Pop, she has to learn to express herself as an individual. And
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, Erica, she's sort of this big pop star who's known across the world and is always on the stage by herself, and she has to learn to work as a team with the people around her.
Do you know what's also great?
What?
None of these two characters, they don't really meet besides the opening
Yeah.
until 2/3 of the way through the film.
Yeah.
And I saw that when that happened, I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're meeting!" I was so excited to see them meet.
Yeah. Because you've been spending time with both of them and getting to know them.
Yeah, no, it's a choice that's not often made in films. It happens all the time in TV shows. I
Yeah.
think the only other time I've seen this happen to this degree was like in Game of Thrones when we had Peter Dinklage meet Emilia Clarke. That was exciting.
Okay. Yeah. Sort of the building up to the moment. And I
Yeah,
like that they're friendly with each other.
yeah.
There's no conflict at all, no resentment for you took my place. They're just like, oh, let's, and they even like, they're like, hey, let's swap places. And then they get a few steps in it. They're like, actually, never mind.
Hmm.
Like, because you totally expect, they swap places, and Princess Courtney is not really liking the royalty camp, and Erica isn't really liking the pop camp, and so they switch back. But no, they just skip that step entirely, and it's just like, no, we like where we are, even though that's not where we were planning on going.
Hmm. And in a story like this, where you have two rival camps, you expect that the villains are going to be the heads of the two camps, but it's
Yeah,
not. It's more one camp than the other, but more
yeah.
specifically, someone else in the one camp, and kind of less of the head.
Yeah, Lady Anne has some villainy in her, but she does
We'll
get redeemed by the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about her, but yeah, no, it was just pleasant that I was seeing these characters and thinking, are they gonna be those type of characters? But then they weren't, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh, that's nice to watch. I'm actually happy for this.
yeah, and one of the interesting things, I mean, these camps sort of represent these opposing ideologies, where camp
Hmm.
royalty is more of this like conformity, but also collectivism, and then camp pop is like freedom and also like individualism to like a very extreme extent.
Hmm.
And the point of the movie is that neither is fully right or fully wrong. And it's kind of like by ending up in the other camp, the two protagonists learn the lessons they need to grow. Like, even though they ended up in the quote unquote wrong camps, they actually ended up in the right camp for their character.
Hmm. I'll say that probably the one thing that doesn't truly work out is at the end when they're preparing for the concert. What it's supposed to happen is that the outsider teaches the students how to be more like the other, except
Yeah.
that doesn't really happen for the pop stars. Courtney doesn't really teach them how to be more like royals, so
Yeah. And I think some of that is like, because working in a band is like a big thing of being a musical artist.
hmm.
So I think that's just kind of like, because you have sort of, Erica has to
Oh,
learn the collectivism, but less so do the other pop stars have to learn it.
unless it's about Courtney's teaching the pop stars to be more as a group because they were
Yeah.
struggling to be as a group
Oh,
together.
yeah, that's a good point.
And Juno was teaching the royals to be, hey, stiffen up. You don't have to be all in sync. You can.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. Okay, problem solved. I figured it out. Pretty good.
Yeah. No, I like how these, everything is sort of tied back to these themes. And then you get the nuance of, because it's not just one side or the other, you see both sides of it, and the point is like finding a space in the middle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's thematically a lot more interesting than a lot of these Barbie movies sometimes are.
The closest thing I can compare this film to is Camp Rock, but
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't seen Camp Rock, so I can't.
uh, I mean it's yes and no. It's really not, but I don't know. I haven't seen Camp Rock in years. The reason why I just think it's similar is because there's a camp and there's rock.
Okay,
That's it.
I've heard it has more similarities with the second one, which apparently adds like the
Oh,
royal angle.
maybe so. Maybe so. I haven't seen the second one, so I can't say.
Yeah, my comparison point was a book and then a movie adaptation that we actually did an episode on for this podcast, The School for Good and Evil, which similar idea except it's a bit flipped where you have the princessy type character ends up at the school for evil and the witch type character ends up at the school for good and they have to, but there it isn't like an error, it's sort of magically decided by what's really in their hearts.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is similarly this like, okay, neither is perfect. And the way the school for evil is characterized, it isn't like evil, it is more of like this sort of individualism and freedom, which
I,
tied back in an interesting way.
mm-hmm. I will say, I don't know how the two came together at the end because they were rehearsing separately.
Yeah, that was a bit of a, they were saving the reveal that they were going to perform together, but it might have benefited to have like have them working together in the montage.
Right, because when they both perform together, it's like, how did they rehearse this?
Yeah, I would assume we just didn't see it because they wanted to save the surprise, like the movie wanted to save the surprise.
I
But
guess, but during the montage,
yeah,
I was so confused. I was thinking, okay, so what's the plan here? Are they just both going on with the thing, but doing their best? Okay, but then it's like, oh yeah, they combined. They were just being really risky with how they were doing it, but it worked
yeah,
out in the end. That's for sure.
yeah. And I mean, kind of on that note, I really think this movie does balance a large cast very well. Like, we have a ton of characters, and yet, I mean, besides the protagonist, no one's really all that well developed, but you do get a sense for who different characters are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even like the magic stuff, which is kind of an afterthought, but it is kind of cool that, like,
Yeah, it's an afterthought, but it's much more explained because in Princess
yeah.
and the Pop Star, they just have these magical items. And when it was revealed that they had these magic items here, I'm like, oh, is this just another Princess in the Pop Star? Why do they have this? And then it's revealed, oh, all the royals have this. It's like, oh,
Yeah, and
okay, and it's a secret too. Nobody else knows this. That's neat.
there's
They have
unicorns
unicorns
and
as well.
yeah, it reminded me a bit, oddly enough, of a movie that I don't think many other people have even heard of. Called Paradise Hills, came out in 2019, has a bunch of famous people in it like Mila Jovovich and Aquafina,
Mm,
Emma Roberts, but it's similarly this like island where a bunch of royalty end up, and then it's all about sort of individualism versus collectivism.
sounds like a CW show.
I mean, it is basically a CW show as a movie. It looks spectacular, but like the
I'm
plotting is
sure.
a little bit odd. But it is one of the cool things it does is sort of this contrast between the sort of like the more modern elements and the kind of almost sci-fi elements, and then the sort of like more fantasy elements.
Hmm.
And so this reminded me at points of that. There's it felt like part of it feels like a fairy tale and part of it feels more modern, and then sort of that clashing.
Yeah, another thing to point out about the writing specifically,
Hmm.
that the comedy bits just the random comedy bits that work really well.
Yeah. It feels well written in a way that Princess Power didn't feel well written.
It's also like the timing of those bits are just
Yeah.
at the right time.
Yeah.
Like when I like just how nobody cheered for the
Yes. Well, the one
ballerina.
person did.
Well, no, like it came in threes. Like they
Yeah.
revealed that 3 times, but the third time he just had that one person in the audience after so long. Yeah, I was just finding that there was just these small bits, just every once in a while that would come up and actually be funny. It doesn't add anything to the story, but they'd add it, and I was like, oh man, this is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder sort of what was holding Princess Power back, because this feels much like the story fits within the runtime, and it feels like it's
Mm,
exploring a bunch of different threads in an interesting way, where Princess Power felt like it kind of left some threads dangling.
mm. And this is like the type of writing that I would expect from someone who worked on all the other shows that they worked on.
Yeah. So yeah, overall I gave the story a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was spectacularly done.
Yeah, I give it a 3.8. Um, it's good. I don't know if it's quite for good. That partially it has to do with music
Okay.
taking place during the story as well, which we'll get to that.
Yeah. I think for me a lot of it is just those themes and how it feels like it's exploring the themes in a more nuanced way than kids
Mm-hmm.
movies tend to explore themes in. But yeah, on to characters. We first have Princess Courtney,
Mm-hmm.
who we kind of talked about her arc here. She starts out very reserved and very formal, but
Mm-hmm.
Camp Pop sort of gives her the space to explore her creative side, and she's kind of finally getting an opportunity to express herself. And she has a great song, the one that she sort of plays while she's alone in this classroom, and then all of her other classmates show up and hear her singing it. That kind of expresses the inner turmoil behind her very reserved sort of appearance. And yeah, I mean she's a good character, and her arc plays a very important role. I think she stands out a bit less to me than Erica does.
Yeah, no, she's kind of the typical one that we would have seen from
Yeah.
this type of story.
Yeah, Erica is a lot thornier,
Mm-hmm.
and the lesson she has to learn is a little bit more emphasized. Because she's sort of individualistic to a fault,
Mm-hmm.
and she's still very very nice, and she's a good person, but she isn't always quick to think of other people. And the moment where she kind of blows up at Princess Olivia, because Princess Olivia calls her out for being like for hogging this entire song, and um Erica gets very upset about that. And at first it seemed a bit out of character for me, but I think it gets integrated into her arc in a way that really worked for me.
I didn't see any problem with that. No.
Okay. It felt just like slightly, and I think part of that was just my expectations of what a protagonist in a Barbie movie does. Usually a protagonist in a Barbie movie does not get upset when someone calls them out for being selfish.
But she's a professional
But
as well,
yeah.
so.
Yeah. And again, I think it works so well with her
Mm-hmm.
arc, and the
Mm-hmm.
contrast with Courtney's arc. It's really their two arcs that make this work. If it were just one side, it would feel a little slight.
Yeah, having them both is nice. Just seeing how they both interact with the other people is also really nice to see.
Yeah. And how, I mean, they have similar struggles, and like even the characters around them are similar. They have their two roommates who they're friends with, and then there's the one bully.
And then that one guy
The one guy, yep,
that
which,
might like them, which
yeah,
Courtney doesn't really have that, although he's paired with the other guy as if there is.
yeah. But sort of those parallels that, and I think we'll get into it actually right now we can, where we
Mm-hmm.
have Zia and Reina are Courtney's friends at Camp Pop, and then we have Princess Genevieve and Princess Aubrey at Camp Royalty, and they're filling kind of the same role to the extent that they kind of feel like all four characters are basically just the same character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Zia and Reina are the ones who kind of pull Courtney out of her shell, and they're immediately friendly in a way that kind of takes Courtney off guard. Um, Whereas Princess Genevieve and Princess Aubrey, there's this moment where um they walk into their room and they see Erica standing there. They're like, "Oh, are you here to help us do our nails?"
Yeah, it's not until they realize who Erica is that they start appreciating her.
Yeah. But once they do, it's like they are very friendly, and they Erica ends up feeling sort of responsible to these friends that she's making at this
Mm-hmm.
camp. And that's sort of what pulls her into growing as a person. Yeah, but besides that, I don't think any of these characters stood out a ton.
No, I like their interaction where they were where they were stereotyping the other
Yes.
person by asking them questions like, "Oh, do you do this? Do you do this?"
Yep. Yeah, they had their moments. I mean, it's like a lot of these Barbie movie sidekicks where they have their moments where you step back and look at them as like characters. They don't have much, but they are like in individual scenes. They have good banter going on.
Yeah, no. What really counts is the banter
Yeah,
with this film specifically. You need to have good banter with these characters, otherwise they're just there.
yeah. We also have Prince Edmund, who
Mm,
he doesn't get much to do, but he does have a cute little flirtation with Erica.
that's it,
Yeah. That's the extent of his character. The As
which
you
is
mentioned, there's sort
typical.
of a counterpart to him in Camp Pop who gets even less to do. Um but yeah, didn't feel like wasted time at the very least.
No.
The bully characters of these schools, we have Princess Olivia and Sloane,
Mm-hmm.
and I've grouped them together because again they serve a very similar function, though in mirrored ways. Where Sloane is kind of very, she doesn't like that Princess Courtney is at the camp, and so she's kind of there to like be what Princess Courtney fears of, sort of like, what if I express myself and people get angry or don't like it?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Princess Olivia has a bit more to do in that she's the one who calls out how Erica is being selfish. So she is kind of right, even if she's also very much wrong about sort of, she's very sort of snooty about how, oh, Erica doesn't belong here at this camp.
Mm-hmm.
But she also does correctly identify that, like, okay, Erica was being a bit selfish in the song she was
During the
leading.
group a cappella
Yeah.
section.
And we'll get to the music, but it is interesting how a lot of these character dynamics are explored through music.
Mm-hmm.
Now we also have maybe the most fun character in the movie, Finn
I
Oxford.
know. Oh, Finn. I
He's
I did not expect to like Finn so much.
Yeah,
No.
he's the classic UK rock star. He has the haircut, he has the outfits.
Yeah, he's got like the Beatle, almost Beatle accent.
Yep.
But no, I like that. I expect him to be the more villainous of the two, just
Yeah.
because like he fits stylistically, he fits like other Barbie villains that we've had in the past. But no, he's he's non-manipulative. Like at
Yeah.
first he's like indifferent, but then like he's genuine the entire film. He's like, hmm, oh, if you think Courtney has a song, go ahead, yeah, express yourself, express yourself, love. Uh,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, like he does want to take the land, but he's not gonna go through uh
Improper channels.
improper means to do so,
Yeah.
which I liked. I liked that he did not devise a plan to undermine the other camp. He's just so sincere. And like he wasn't even against them joining at the end. He was like, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah, it was only when Lady Anne got angry that he then started arguing.
Mhm.
And yeah, speaking of Lady Anne, she's definitely the more
Oh, yes.
villainous of the two, but in a way that gets subverted.
Mhm.
Um because she is very manipulative and you aren't quite sure how much she actually appreciates Erica's singing or if it's just sort of like,
She sees the talent that she can exploit,
yeah,
whereas Finn sees like the talent that should be explored.
yeah. That's a good way of putting it of like, and that kind of fits with the vibes of each camp.
Mhm.
um yeah, actually this is something to ask right now. I am curious. So one of the interesting things about this movie is kind of like thinking, which camp would I want to go to and which camp would I benefit from going to? And so I'm definitely like a camp pop person. Like that is where I would want to go, which thus means I should probably end up at Camp Royalty to learn a lesson.
Probably.
What was your feeling, or did you not think about
See,
this at all?
I don't really want to do music.
But separate from the music,
Okay.
because
Um,
I have no musical talent at all.
I have no interest in doing musical talents at all
Yeah.
as well.
Are you sort of the like creative self expression type thing, or more of the like collective? Let's work together and follow sort of these rules of decorum.
So I think I'd probably want to go more to the pop and then have to go through Royal.
Okay, yeah. So we're kind of similar boats here.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, even with Lady Anne, like she ends up getting redeemed.
A little quickly, but yes.
Yeah. And there is this like, it does kind of feel like when they get redeemed that there's part of the reason they're so obsessed with getting the other person's camp is that like there's still some feelings there.
Mm-hmm.
And Lady Anne even says like, because they were dating and then um Lady Anne dumped him, and she specifically did it because she was worried that he would when he make sorry once he made it big he would leave her, so
Mm.
she wanted to get through the difficult part first. And so when he hears that, he's like, oh well, I wouldn't have ever done that, and also is very flattered that she knew he would make it big.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
that's
know
sort
what's
of their,
also really nice
what?
is the attention to detail at how different their two photographs are.
Oh yeah.
Where Lady Anne, like, she keeps her photograph pressed, like neatly pressed in her desk,
Yeah.
whereas Finn keeps it in his jacket, but his is more wrinkled and has um, the stain of the folding stains.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I don't know if I quite caught on to that detail, but yeah, the that they both have the same picture and that it is like they've kept it in a way that makes it clear that it is important to them.
Mm-hmm.
But those ways are very different. And that is kind of the theme of the movie, is like these different people and ideas that have to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like that both of the headmasters actually stand up for Courtney and Erica respectively. Like
Although
Lady
one is
Anne is
more
doing it.
sincere than
Yeah.
the other.
Well, yeah, Lady Anne is doing it a bit more sort of plottily, but I don't know. It's a refreshing thing. Sometimes in these stories, you have like the headmasters are like indifferent or
Mm-hmm.
even like actively like, no, we don't want a pop star at our camp. So that was kind of a refreshing thing to see.
I also really like the high five moment.
Oh yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
How Courtney starts out not knowing what a high five is to like instigating a high five.
Yeah.
Nice touch. Really
Yeah,
nicely
and
done.
good character growth moment as well.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of indicates the changes that have been the subtler changes.
Yeah.
Now, the last character we have here to talk about is the true villain of the story,
Oh
Clive.
yeah, Clive.
He is the villain, but I do still kind of feel bad for him because he has this unrequited crush on Lady Anne.
A bit too much.
Yeah, he definitely goes too far, but and the
Too
way he
far.
gets his comeuppance is,
He's a little extra at times as well.
yep. But yeah, the moment where he like reveals that he bribed the judge is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like so in the heat of the moment that he doesn't realize he's doing it until after he's done it.
And how like the ballerina just leaves.
Yes. Off screen. You don't even cut back to her like rushing out. It's just like done through sound effects.
I know. It's just moments like that. Just really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. This was, I mean, there's such a good balance of characters where you do get a sense for who each of these characters are.
Yeah, even the characters that don't have really any quote unquote character to them, because a lot of them are copies, they each have like fun dialogue to go with them
Yeah.
that makes you connect with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it is after Princess Power where it felt like none of the characters were fully realized.
Mm-hmm.
Here it's nice to see.
Yeah. And so I gave the characters 4 out of 5.
Yep, I gave them a 4.5 out of 5. So
Mm-hmm.
same as the story score for me, I think
Yeah.
both very good. So yeah, next up we have the animation,
All right, animation, yes.
which so much better.
So yeah, to the last film, so much better.
They are using sort of similar facial models to the last movie,
It's more so
but
to Secret Door.
yeah, it's executed so much better.
Yeah, it's not so much that the character models are great. I think what's really helping this film is the lighting. The lighting
Yeah.
is fantastic on the
Yeah.
models. It gives them the depth that they need.
Yeah, and they have, there's like a softer skin texture on them,
Mm-hmm.
but they still do look like dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, this is a Barbie movie, so that's kind of where last movie they did look like dolls, but they looked like bad dolls. Here they look like good
Yeah,
dolls.
yeah, no,
Barbie no longer has the sunken cheeks, which really helps her not look like Gollum.
uh-huh, yeah.
And I remember last episode you had a complaint about how simple the costumes were. Here they were so complex with so many like
Yes,
parts and layers and
even
patterns and
even though I do wish that during the performance everyone got a new costume of some sort,
yeah, I
even if
wasn't
it's
the
slight.
yeah. I wasn't the biggest fan of the post transformation dresses, so I wasn't too sad that everyone didn't get the same kind of glow up. But
Yeah, why did Courtney get pink hair? It's
yeah,
Princess and the Pop Star all over again.
it did look a bit odd.
Yeah. But no, the lighting and the movement just really, you can have the simplest character models, but if you have fantastic lighting and good character movement,
Yeah,
you're set. It's good.
and Erica looked so cool. Her
Oh,
outfit, her hair, everything.
yeah.
And unlike any other character we've seen in any Barbie movie, she has that sort of like punk. She has like streaks of blue in her hair.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, even like the movement, the dances were a lot of fun,
Oh
I
yeah.
thought.
Oh yeah.
The backgrounds looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really good production design that sort of like these two camps parallel each other in interesting ways.
I like that also subtly the dances are different for each
Oh
camp.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, the like differences like all of the camps like it's tree houses, but the royalty, the treehouse looks like a big fancy manor, and then the pop cap it's musical notes.
Mm-hmm.
And the production design is by a production designer, well, mainly concept artist by the name of Milena Strakovich. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Um, but she's a super prolific concept artist. This is her only
Yeah.
Barbie movie, but she's
It's so odd. It's so
yeah,
odd.
she's worked on Sucker Punch, Star Trek Beyond, the A Series of Unfortunate Events TV show, Godzilla King of Monsters, The Last of Us TV show, a whole bunch of stuff, a
A
whole
whole
broad.
bunch of like well-known and prolific stuff. What's
Yeah,
she doing with Barbie?
I mean she's doing really good work, and it is worth noting. Usually she's like a concept artist, but here
She's doing
she's
the upcoming Alien TV show.
oh that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, like I was saying, usually she's a concept artist, so that's sort of like someone coming up with concept art, but not necessarily leading the production. But
Mm-hmm.
here she's the production designer, so she's sort of the one in charge of setting the tone, the like visuals for the. And then we do also have art direction by Pamela Prostar and Renata Marchand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not entirely sure who did what work, but I did want to also shout them out. And they've mainly been working on Barbie movies and a few other animated projects.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like with Milena Strakovich, like she feels like they brought in a celebrity star to do that, but happens to be like a production or like a an artist, not a voice actor, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Because yeah, her work, and you can find she has a website where she puts a lot of her concept art, and it's kind of fun to scroll through and see. So yeah, I don't know, I thought the animation was really good here.
Yeah, it is really good.
So I gave it a 4.25 out of 5. I think there is like a tiny bit where like I wasn't noticing as many interesting camera angles or camera movements, but the quality of the animation makes
Yeah.
up for it.
I give it a 3.8, which is similar to like Pearl Princess and The Secret Door. They both have similar looking designs and character models and movement.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that bump up the score, so
Yeah. I think it was spectacular. But
mm-hmm.
there is like yeah. Anyway, on to voice acting. Kelly Sheridan here plays Princess Courtney.
Yeah,
Great performance as usual. I think
as usual.
her singing voice is voiced by Jordan Kane, and there is a pretty big mismatch between the two of them,
A bit, yeah.
but uh, we've seen worse before, so I'm not gonna be too harsh on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, next up, we have a bit of a. We may have to talk a bit through this one. Chiarazani playing Erica Juno.
Great to have her back.
Yes, her voice is great, and she gives a good performance. The issue I think here is that Erica Juno is designed to be a character of color, and
Mm-hmm.
Chiarazani is not a person of color. As far as I could tell, her ancestry is British and Italian, and so it is a bit uncomfortable that she's played this character. That
I have no issue with that.
okay, I I don't know. It just bothered me a bit, and it's interesting because there have been times before, like occasionally early in the Barbie movies, there were two Indian characters, one in Nutcracker and one in 12 Dancing Princesses, that were voiced by white actors. But in general, they have been very good about finding people, like when they've had characters of color, finding actors of color to play those characters, especially for protagonists. So I almost wonder if there's some sort of extenuating circumstance, if maybe she was hired and she did the lines and then they changed the character design later on, um, or if they hired someone who couldn't, who like
See,
scheduling conflicts that couldn't
here's
make it.
how
But
this works. Um, they just look for the voice, not the actual physical person. So there's so many examples where you have black actors performing for white characters. I have no problem with that, and so I also don't have any problem with white characters performing black white actors performing black characters, as long as their voice fits the character. It
yeah,
doesn't matter if the actor doesn't look it. So if they're doing this like in live action, sure, I'd question why you have face paint on this white actor. But for voice acting, it's not an issue. It's really not.
yeah, for me, the thing is they've been so intentional about, specifically for the protagonists in the past, that I don't know, it just felt like maybe they could have found someone else to do the voice. But yeah, again, I think she gives a good performance separate from all of that. And I think Alana de Francesca, who plays the singing voice, is also a good match for Chiarazani.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, next up we have Michael Dobson, who he just perfectly captures that British rock star voice. He's been in several other of these Barbie movies. He's been around since Swan Lake, where he played the Erasmus, the character who gets turned into a worm.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that,
Yeah.
he had the Book of Forest Lore,
Mm-hmm.
that line. Um, and I know he does a lot of other voice acting work.
Yeah, Michael Dobson, he's fun.
We also have Nicole Oliver, who I thought did a really good job as Lady Anne. She's, because you have this character who is supposed to be a little bit villainous, but not enough that she can't be redeemed. And so I thought Nicole Oliver did a really good job, sort of not overselling any of her lines. Like, she has a few good evil laugh moments, but for the most part, it's a more subtle performance than, say, in the last movie with oh, now I can't remember the names, but the villain in the last movie was very sort of cartoonishly evil,
Mm-hmm.
whereas here we have a bit more of like a reserved performance.
Yeah.
And then I did also want to shout out Alessandro Giuliani, who, again, he's someone who's been around for a while. He played the merman guy in the Fairytopia movies,
Mm-hmm.
and he plays Clive here, and he is hilarious in that role. He has some good line readings.
Yeah. Um, the other person that I want to point out is someone called Ingrid Nilsson. She played Sloane and a bunch of background characters. This
Yeah.
is for her first time in Barbie, but no, I love um having her around because she does fantastic emo characters, which
Okay.
um she did a little bit here, but no, she's really great with those.
Yeah, we have a lot of returning people from early as well.
Hmm.
We have Peter Clemeus, who's been in a few of these. Um, Adrian Petru, who voiced some of our favorite Kens from like the Fashion Fairy Tale and Fairy Secret area. So yeah, kind of fun to get some people back, some recognizable voices. So yeah, I gave the voice acting. Oops, I gave it a 4.25 out of 5. Um, and that's just again, I some of the casting decisions were made me a little bit question it a bit, but I think the performances on their own are very solid.
I give it a 4 because it's solid as general.
Okay, so last up we have the music, and first off, it starts so well with this sort of opening credit sequence where we start with sort of this more classical music, and then there's like a needle skip and we get the rock and roll elements mixing in, and we're
Hmm.
watching the two protagonists prepare for camp. They're packing their bags, and it's sort of like bouncing back and forth between these classical elements and these more modern pop elements, and that kind of continues throughout the rest of the movie. So even just the score itself I thought was really interesting. But then we get the original songs, and some of them are better than others, but I do like most of them.
Hmm.
Now we start off with a bit of a doozy, the going to camp song.
Going to camp.
that that
Can't
one, I
wait.
mean, it's fun.
It's fun.
It isn't as good as some of the later songs. It is kind of introducing the sort of the differences between the two camps.
Yes.
But yeah, um, the songs I did want to spotlight are "What If I Shine." That's the song that Courtney sings, sort of when she's alone in the classroom, which I already sort of alluded to, but it's it reveals sort of this struggle within herself between this sort of conformity she's expected to have as a princess and then this self-expression that she wants to explore but feels like she can't. And it's more of like a ballad, which I don't tend to like, but I think this one serves an interesting character purpose.
Hmm.
And then we also have my other favorite song, less for the song itself and more for the character dynamics, is "When You're a Princess," which is the initial a cappella song that Camp Royalty is going to put on. And this is the one that reveals sort of Erica's talent here, where she's like in the background, she's not playing any of the lead singer, she's playing a backup singer, and she can't help but sort of like plus the song, and she's singing her own lyrics and trying to add to the song and express her own voice here. And that's where the conflict between Erica and Princess Olivia is kind of most apparent, is in this song, where the lyrics themselves are not calling it out, but it's the
Hmm.
way the song is sung. You're feeling this conflict. So yeah, I thought it was so much fun to have like, it's not even the song itself, it's the way the characters are singing the song that reveals what's going on. What was your favorite song?
I didn't really have a favorite song.
Okay.
There was not one song that really stood out to me. Thought they were all fine, but no. Unlike past films, there wasn't one that was like, this one I really like. no, I thought they were fine. They worked. I will say, I think that there's a little problem, and this is a very consistent problem with every Barbie film. The songs go on for far longer than they should.
Okay.
Specifically, the most noticeable one is the first song, "The
Yeah.
Camp." It goes on for so long. Um, and I was just thinking because the other film that I really love, it's a My Little Pony movie called Rainbow Rocks, and it's a similar concept of like bands and different music. What they do is they will cut down their song to fit the time, but also the pacing of the film works so much better because the song uh, gets the point across and then it ends, and you can go buy the soundtrack with the full song, and it's still great. So here I was like, I really wish they cut this down because I don't think we really need a whole song that's just repeating the same thing over and over again. Um, and also it could also be like they're struggling to find a way to make the songs interesting through the animation. Because a lot of it's just we're watching the character singing, maybe they're dancing, and there's not a whole lot of fancy editing or visuals to go along with it that
Yeah.
2D can do much better and creative, and you still believe it versus 3D.
Yeah, and I do think that point you bring up about sort of the visuals during the songs aren't always the most creative, and that is sort of something I alluded to in my animation
Mm-hmm.
score. Sort of that there is kind of a dynamic feeling that's a bit missing here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's completely gone. I think there are dynamic moments, and for me, the songs worked really well. Um, Even just the way that like you'll be listening to a song and it'll be like, oh, this is good, but it's not quite there, and then the characters will acknowledge, oh, here's what's wrong, and it's sort of indicating um these issues. But then again, as you said, it's there's the one where Erica is singing the lead of the acapella when they're practicing, where like after it's done they point out like, oh, it wasn't quite working because you were taking all of the spotlight here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna have this song be not intentionally a little bit off, they do the full performance. It isn't just like a minute of it. No, it's the full song. And you could have probably cut it down a bit and still got to the same point across.
Yeah, because you could cut it down and still have the proper time because this film is 10 minutes longer than typical for Barbie films.
Yeah.
10 to 5 minutes.
Yeah. I for me, it was not ever a huge issue. And I think like the mashup they do at the end, this big sort of performance thing, that really brought things together. And even the music video they had with, which I don't think you were as big of a fan of, but I liked it as a ending in a dance party type
I
moment.
just I think no, I think the music video is fine. I just think that they should have played credits with the music
Okay,
to end
save
things
some
off.
time.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, yeah, because it's just like
yeah,
I'm sitting there waiting, and it's just a music video. It's like, well, you can make it interesting and put the voice actors' names with the characters while they're singing.
yeah. That might be because, and we were talking about this before, because the way they credit things, names that are mentioned in the opening credits aren't necessarily mentioned in the end credits.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's something with that, because I think it has been every other Barbie movie. It's just the credits at the end. There's no credit sequence at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's something with contracts or just kind of like company style.
Maybe, it could be a billing thing as well.
Yeah. But it is, especially with animation where you're like, who's playing these characters? It's nice to have like, you can have each character and have the name show up when they do a close up on their face, like they do in live action movies sometimes, or animated movies that are bigger budget with celebrity voice actors.
Yeah, because they never put the credit for voice actors really ever in the credits. Maybe it's something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, to make that thing a little more interesting, and I'm not feeling like I'm wasting my time, just add more than just, oh yeah, they're singing, they're dancing, that's neat. Give me credits.
Yeah, I it worked for me, but I think you are. I'm a bit musical
It's no,
agnostic, but I think you're more than I am.
it's also like the story is finished and we're still going. See, there needs to be more of the incentive to sit there and still go. That's why I say you
Okay.
put your credits there. Because
Okay.
it's like, okay, the story's finished, the movie's done technically. We still have this thing here, but you don't have to sit through it because it's credits.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
you could put the music video on YouTube after the fact without the credits. I mean, just
That's what they did for a movie I talked about a few months ago, White Noise.
or put the
They
lyrics on screen. Just do something.
Yeah, I it worked for me, but I could understand why it wasn't working for you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like anytime any of these Barbie movies is good, I don't mind if they ended a bit of a celebration because I that's how I'm feeling at the end. I'm like, yeah, this one wasn't bad.
Okay.
We did it.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
yeah,
my music score was a 4 out of 5. Thought the music was well done, fit the aesthetic, worked really well. I just didn't find any that stood out to me, so it's still good.
yep. Mine was a 4.5 out of 5. Again, I do bump up these scores a little bit whenever these movies are musicals because I strongly believe that more Barbie movies should be musicals, just sort of in the way that Barbie movies and musicals have similarities make that work well for the Barbie movies. But that leaves my total score as a 22 out of 25, or an 88%, which is a 4.4 on our 5 point scale.
Mine is a 19.6, which is a 78%, and a 3.9 5-star rating.
Yeah, so since this is our 30th episode, every 5 episodes we go in and look at where we are so far in our rankings.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk a bit about where this fell, which I was surprised how high this got on all of our lists.
Oh yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah, but our overall list so far, we still have Princess and the Pauper number one.
Mm-hmm.
That has been there for a while. I don't expect this will ever move. I think we can both agree this is the pinnacle of what a Barbie movie
Unless
can be.
unless the Barbie movie
Oh
tops it.
well, yeah, yeah. I wasn't including that because I think that one is we almost have to rate on a different scale.
But the
But
percentage will still
yes,
add up.
yes, we'll put it in our rankings. But yeah, anyway, number two we have Magic of Pegasus, which that has a 4.3, so right behind Princess and the Pauper. And then number three, Rock and Royals.
Yeah.
It made it up there.
Interesting. With a 4.2.
Yep. And then number four, A Christmas Carol.
Hmm.
Which another one that we were kind of surprised how high it ended up getting. And then number five is still Rapunzel. We
Still
have Pearl
Rapunzel.
Princess hanging out right beneath
Ah,
that.
poor Pearl Princess.
Yep. And then at the bottom of our list, our bottom five is
Oh.
still at the bottom, Barbie Diaries. Nothing has bumped that off yet. Then right above it is Thumbelina.
Mm-hmm.
Then above that, Perfect Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Then Princess Power, and then right above that, Princess and the Pop Star.
Wow. Why is that so low?
So it is interesting when we have guests on that can change the score very much. But I
Hmm.
think the bottom five here is basically my bottom five as well. Slightly different order, but oh no, not quite. I have Thumbelina, Barbie Diaries, Perfect Christmas, Princess Power, and then Nutcracker, which I was a bit harsh on. I will admit. If I did these again, then that would change where it ranks.
Yeah,
But
I'd
yeah, my
probably
top.
put Nutcracker lower. I don't know.
Yeah, you have it higher on your personal list, I think, than I
I
do.
do. It's not bottom, but I don't think it should be as high as it is. How high is it? I don't remember. Let me look.
Well, we'll see in just a second.
Okay.
My top five right now are obviously Princess of the Pauper and Magic of Pegasus 1 and 2. Then I put Mariposa number 3. Um,
Nice.
yeah, that was one that immediately when I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, this one is going high on my list. Then number 4, Rockin' Royals, and then number 5, Rapunzel. So
But it's
similar.
tied with Princess Charm School.
It is, yeah. I have the same score for Mariposa, Rockin' Royals, Rapunzel, and Princess Charm School.
Hmm. Yes. So for looking at my top five, uh, one is still Princess of the Pauper. Second is Christmas Carol. Uh, okay. Third is Princess Charm School. Fourth is Rock and Royals. And then fifth is Rapunzel. Rapunzel loves number five, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now that Rockin' Royals has jumped up to the top of our lists, Rapunzel is number 5 consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So this list is basically how we added up our scores. It
Yeah.
objectively, personally, I don't think it's that high. I enjoyed the film, but I don't know if I'll enjoy it as a rewatch. I don't feel like rewatching Rock and Royals. I think I got the experience the first time. Unlike other films, like I really want to rewatch Barbie Diaries,
Okay.
but that's like my bottom.
Yeah.
I
Barbie Diaries is fascinating.
Yeah,
I I, I think I would rewatch Rockin' Royals very happily,
yeah.
but
Christmas Carol as number two. No, I don't want to. I don't feel like for me I'd put that as number two. Um, but yeah, bottom five: Barbie Diaries, Princess Power, Thumbelina, Perfect Christmas, Fairy, Secret. That's accurate. Although I actually like Barbie Diaries, so
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
these lists are not infallible, and this is actually this will be the last time we do one of these check-ins until once we've seen all of these movies, we're gonna do a final rankings episode.
mhm.
So, and that one we will talk both about our numerical rankings and then our own personal rankings separate from numerical score. Um,
Yes, it would be so
so
much fun to
yeah,
devise our personal rankings.
yeah. So starting next episode, well, not next episode, but the next Barbie movie we talk about, we won't be telling you where it falls in our rankings, and we won't be doing these checkups because we want to save some surprises for the. We'll still be saying what our scores are and everything, but
Hmm.
we will save the surprise for that ranking episode that's coming.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. There you can find an up-to-date list of all of our Barbie movie rankings. This will be the last time we update it until those final rankings are released. So we'll see how much that changes in the coming weeks, but we will be back next week with a surprise bonus episode on a movie about a doll that isn't Barbie. Now it's going to be a few days late, for a very good reason. You'll find out why when we release it, and we hope the anticipation doesn't kill you.
Whoa.
Bye.
Bye.